Should I buy a high mileage used electric car?
Buying a used electric car can seem daunting, can't it? But buying a high mileage one with over 250,000 miles on the clock, you would need your head testing, wouldn't you? I'm about to tell you why. You don't need to worry, but before I do, make sure you subscribe to the Electrifying YouTube channel, please. Oh, thank you very much.
Here's the thing. Buying a high mileage used electric car is a good idea. Now I know what you're thinking. Used electric car, yes, good idea. But with thousands and thousands of miles on it, oh, what about the battery and what about the range and everything's all going to be affected? Look, the answer to that will genuinely surprise you. Seriously. I mean, if you're looking to buy a used electric car, by the way, pop yourself on electrifying.com because you'll find all the information on there that you need. See, we've got you sorted. This is a Tesla Model S. 10 years old, the Model S is now in the UK. Yeah, 10 years. This has done over 250,000 miles. And today, we're putting it to the test just to see how good it really is. So to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Tesla and 10th anniversary of Elon, I made a cake from scratch that I made. Happy birthday, Tesla, and happy birthday, Elon. So, last few days, we've been driving this a lot during the great British weather, which has been rain and cold and hot and wintry and windy and weird. But you know what? It's still managed around 200 miles, which is really impressive. And if you think about it, you're probably going to charge the thing up after you've done, what, 160, 170 miles? That's normally what I would do. I wouldn't drain the battery completely flat because that's not good for the battery anyway. So really, winter months, when it's at its absolute worst, like an EV's worst nightmare, you're still going to get about 150 miles worth of range. That's good, isn't it? That's blooming good, that.
The Tesla Model S is a great option for a good value used electric car, and there are some fantastic used Model S's around for a great price. Check out the used Teslas on electrifying.com for an idea of what you can get them for. But you will see them from under £11,000, or have a look at the Nissan Leaf, MG5 or BMW i3 for some other really affordable used EVs. They're cheaper than the Model S, but you'll have to live with a shorter real-world range.
All right then, come on. I mean, I had to take it out for a spin just to see what it's like to drive after doing thousands and thousands of miles. And do you know what? It's still pretty great. I mean, the Model S was always a lovely car to drive right from the launch. Now here we are, 10 years later, 250,000 miles later, and it still drives pretty well. I mean, yes, I know it feels a little bit tired, yes, but it's still blooming good. So the version that we've got here is the 90D. So this has got a 90 kilowatt hour battery. It's got 4-wheel drive. Here's the thing, right? When this was first launched back in 2014, the way we calculated range was very different. So the official range it had at launch was 346 miles, I believe. You can't really take that into consideration now. So this has done 250,000 miles, real world range, you're looking at about 150 to 200 miles. Once you've got those numbers in your head, you can just forgive it. It's still got oomph as well. I've got a tractor in front of me. I'm going to slow down a little bit and then I can see if I can feel the power behind. Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. I mean, I know, like, you look around the cabin and there's just some bits that just feel a bit old. Some of the materials that you're like, it's a bit dated. I mean, the screen is absolutely ginormous, but does it still work? Yes. Is it still intuitive? Yes. Does it react to everything that I'm doing really quickly? Yes. It's impressive. It's impressive when you think about how far this thing has gone, how many miles this thing has done. That's crazy. So I don't know if you remember, but in the early days, like the really early Model S's, used to get free supercharging. Yeah, free supercharging for life. And this thing has that. It does. So you can just plug in a Tesla supercharger walk away with the smuggest face, knowing that you ain't paying for nothing. Absolutely brilliant, isn't it? It's a bit creaky as well. There's some little creaky wobbly bits, like when you shut the door handle wobbles. When you open the boot, it opens with a creak like an old haunted house door. But you can totally forgive it because it still drives really, really well. It does. Oh, it's a bit good, isn't it? Been doing some digging, okay? The battery health of this car is currently at 84%. 84%. So when it was brand new and it was fully charged, it would have been at 100%, and now here we are 10 years later, 250,000 miles later, it's at 84%, which actually is very, very impressive. That means it's only lost 1.6% per year, which actually the average car will normally lose at around 1.8 to 2% per year. So that's performed extremely well. But I just want to go on a little rant, just a little mini rant. There's a little gadget doodah thing that you can buy called an OBD that you can plug into your electric car, so then you can find out the actual percentage health of the battery. I don't think we need to buy things like that, and I think it should legally be a thing for cars to show the battery health. And I think it should be on the screen the whole entire time so that you can see the health of your battery. You know, like when you've got your phone in your hand, you just go on your settings and you see how well your battery is doing. That should be a legal thing in electric cars, all right? So I'm gonna make some placards and I'm gonna go on strike and go on protest because I genuinely think this should be a thing. For anyone that is now driving electric cars for year on year, you want to check your battery health and you want to be able to check it easily without having to buy a little thing to plug into your car. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about battery degradation, because that's important, right? We talked to the experts at Cleevely EV, who run a fleet of mobile service and repair technicians that specialise in electric cars. But before we hand over to them, go on, give us a like and subscribe, because you didn't do it earlier, did you?
As an independent electric vehicle retailer, as you can see behind me, we've got the vehicles here, we're very experienced and we understand the concerns of anyone looking to buy a new car or a second-hand EV. From the last 6 years that we've been working on electric vehicles, most of them have a clear way of reporting state of health, and there are multiple tools available on the market now to be able to read state of health and provide a battery certificate. So you're well within your rights if you find a vehicle that you like at a retailer to ask for a battery health report when looking to buy a second-hand electric vehicle. But don't panic, because electric vehicle batteries by and large are hugely reliable. They can last for hundreds of thousands of miles. There are ways of looking after them with charging patterns and things like that. You can get some expert advice, of course. But they are hugely reliable, and even if they do break, because it can happen, ICE vehicles can break as well, batteries can be replaced to a modular level, so whether that's an individual cell or a pack, or even some of the electronic components that break inside of a battery. So things should be able to be repaired at a modular level as well, which helps save costs. It's not very often that we'd have to replace a battery as a complete unit. In fact, it's hard to name exact prices depending on make and model, but the Nissan Leaf, that's been around for over a decade now as the longest EV on the roads in the UK, we can pick a second-hand battery up from a crash damaged vehicle and pop that into a Nissan Leaf if the battery is degraded or has got a fault that can be repaired. It can range anything from about £4,000 upwards. The Nissan Leaf can actually be upgraded to have more battery capacity as well. So the Tesla Model S that you've been driving around at 250,000 miles isn't an unusual sight. Many of them are brilliant taxis, especially some of the earlier ones that have what's called SCO1, which is free supercharging for life. We see lots of them through our workshop. They're a big, heavy car, so biggest drawback is to have all the suspension checked thoroughly by a knowledgeable expert, because they do wear suspension components very, very quickly. But the motors, the batteries, by and large, are hugely reliable. Tesla they're market leading with their technology, so they are fantastic. And generically, if you're looking at a high mileage electric vehicle, then look at tyre wear, look at steering suspension, all of those car things. What we can't forget about an electric vehicle is it's still a car, so it's just got a powertrain that is slightly different to an engine that we're used to for the last 100 years. So have a knowledgeable expert have a look over the vehicle, but fundamentally, if you've got a battery report, a health report on it, and the car physically is in good condition, then you've got yourself a bargain, and you're going to save money because cost of ownership for an electric vehicle is far lower than with any ICE vehicle.
So there you have it. Should you buy a high mileage used EV? Yes, absolutely. I think it's absolutely worth it. And you think about it as well, in the long run, it's the most environmentally friendly thing to do, to keep these things on the road as long as physically possible. I mean, all you've got to do is just make sure you check the real world range and really look after your battery, so don't rapid charge too often, and then you're living the dream, aren't you? So, to celebrate, wishing Tesla a big happy birthday. Oh my God, that's so nice. Oh geez, that's really good. You can go now. Just leave me in the cake. I said you can go now. Oh my God, that's so nice. Okay. See you later, Lum. Wow. This cake I made is really good. Are you going to keep filming, or do I have to keep eating it? Because I will go for another. I'm going to do it. That's great. Wishing Tesla and the Model S a very happy birthday. Dinner time. Thank you.